So now you've worked through one of the samples that I gave you in your own Lean Canvas on the Exponentially app. So what I'm going to do now is walk you through each of those examples the way I would do it, and then you can use that to compare with what you did, and maybe there's some insights in there. So the first example we're going to work with is Instanap. Now if you remember, Instanap is an energy drink that knocks you out for 4 hours and you wake up feeling refreshed. So the reason we do the Lean Canvas is because we're trying to get the customer perspective of the problem and the solution and why we would even bother to do this. We're not trying to figure out how to sell more Instanap. We're trying to figure out, does anyone even care about this particular product? So let's start over here with the problem. And the problem is, in this example, I need to study and stay awake in a healthy way. I work shifts and I need to sleep quickly. I want to reduce the time I sleep so that I can have more personal time afterwards. And I struggle to sleep at night, so I want a good solid 4 hours sleep. And notice it's worded from the perspective of I, so from the person's perspective, not them or they or the customer, which is really important. So get ourselves into the mindset of what is the problem the customer is experiencing as they're experiencing it. We then go across to 2, which is customer segments. And customer segments are the high-level groups of customers. So in this case, it could be insomniacs or shift workers. But we're way more interested in the early adopters. And the early adopters are things like students, truck drivers, long-haul travelers. So people who are experiencing the most pain around this and would really jump at your solution and adopt it really quickly. We then go to the number 3, which is the unique value proposition. And this is, how do you position this, or how would you tell someone about your product or service that solves their problem? So in this case, it's improved sleep management, and it could be something simple like guaranteed sound sleep followed by a refreshed wake up with no fuzzy head feeling. Number 4 is the solution. So in this case, this is 2 or 3 bullet points to capture at a high level what the solution is. We don't know the nuts and bolts, and this is not about a technical solution, but what could this look like? So in this case, it could be a drink that knocks you out for 4 hours and you wake up feeling refreshed, it's safe, and it has 0 side effects. Then we go to the unfair advantage. And this is the only place where we care about us. So as a company, organization, or a service, why would we win if we did this? Like, what unique advantage do we have? And in this case, it could be we have a worldwide patent, we have a secret formula, or it's FDA approved, or something to that effect that can keep competitors out. What you're not looking for here is we've got lots of customers, or we've got a trusted brand, or that kind of thing. It's really like specifically unique advantages here. Then we skip across 6 and 7 because that's cost and revenue. And of course we care about that at a later stage, but right now we're just caring, if we did this thing, would somebody be interested in it? Then we go to 8, which is the key metrics. And the key metrics are, what is the one metric that goes up or down to keep you honest and show you, is your potential solution or offering working? And here I would measure number of repeat units sold. Why repeat? Because it's easy to sell one. You can just market at people and make them sell one. But it's working for them if they use it multiple times in this particular case. So, and there's many versions of what you could do here, but that's one I would choose. And then lastly is the channels. What is the clever way you can get to these customers and get to these early adopters? So here you could put vending machines up, for example, at universities. You could sell this in supermarkets to get to your customers. You could put it next to a competitive product at a pharmacy, for example. So we're trying to think through what those channels are, of how you get this in front of your early adopters. So that's the Lean Canvas in a nutshell. Compare it to the one you did, see if there's any issues, and you're welcome to get in touch and see if we can help you in any way. So let's walk through the self-driving school bus example for the Lean Canvas. And if you remember, the idea here is that parents will transport their children to school and back using a self-driving school bus that has no driver. And what we're trying to capture on the canvas here is whether someone will even use the service in the first place. We're not trying to prove, can the technology work on any of that stuff. That can come later. So we're going to start with focusing on the problem. And if you remember, we're looking for 3 bullet points here defining the problem from the perspective of whoever's experiencing that problem. So in this case, it's the parents. And the problem they have is, I want to get my children safely to school. I want reliable pickup and drop-off times. And I want to know my children are safe and on the bus from their perspective. And notice the language is, I want to do this, I want to do this, not just they or the customer. So it's quite specific. Then we jump across to the customer segments. Now on the customer segments, at the high level, it's parents with school-aged children. And the early adopters would be parents who use existing school bus services for their children, and potentially parents who own Teslas because they're used to autonomous and that kind of safety aspect. In the middle, we go to the unique value proposition. And yeah, this is how you position it to the person that potentially would use your service. In this case, I would say something like an automated, reliable and safe way to get your children to the school and back on time every time. Short, sweet, to the point, and makes sense. We then go to the solution. And the solution, you want 2 or 3 bullet points that defines at a high level what your solution could look like. Not too much detail, just enough to capture the essence of it. And in this case, it's a self-driving bus, it's reliable and on time, and it's low risk due to no human driver. Then we go to the unfair advantage. And unfair advantage in this case would be, and I made this up of course, a self-driving school bus patent, and regulatory approval, and contracts with schools. So remember, what the unfair advantage is from your perspective as a company or person providing this service. Why would you win if you entered this market? This is the only block where we care about our perspective. The rest is all focused exclusively on what the customer thinks and believes, or what we believe about that customer. We then skip revenue and cost because that's our safe space and we'd be making stuff up. At a later stage, clearly we'd be worried about that, but for now, we just want to figure out, do people even want to use this potential service? We then go across to the key metrics. And the key metric is, what is the one metric that we can measure that goes up or down that shows that our service is working or not working? And in this case, I would say something like week-on-week growth of the number of repeat trips taken by students, which we don't want to prove that they like a shiny new thing and try it once. We want to prove that they use it consistently over and over in solving a problem. And then lastly, our channels. So what are some creative ways or obvious ways that we can get to these customers where they're at to present them with a service offering? In this case, I've got a school newsletter, parents association, social media, Google ads, Facebook groups, messenger apps, wherever parents would hang out, that would potentially be able to get exposed to this service. So that's a lean canvas in a nutshell. Compare it to yours. Maybe there's some insights there. See how well you did. And if you have any questions, reach out to us. I'm now going to take you through the Visa for Dogs example for the lean canvas. And if you remember, the idea here is that it's a visa for dogs that allows them to travel freely with you when you're traveling overseas. So if we're going to the lean canvas, what we're trying to see here is, does anybody even care? And what you're looking for is a 30-minute exercise with 2 or 3 bullet points to capture each. So we'll start with the problem on the left, from the perspective of the person having this problem. In this case, dog owners. So yeah, what we've got is, there's no streamlined process to bring my dogs through immigration. It's too expensive to go through the process of bringing a dog with me internationally. And I love my dogs and I don't want to leave them at home alone when I'm traveling overseas. If we jump across to the customer segments on the right, we'll see at a high level, these are dog owners and dog breeders potentially, but the early adopters are what we really care about in the beginning, who are the people who are most likely to use our service when we launch it. And this is individuals who travel frequently for long durations. And you can imagine business travelers as an example. We then go to the unique value proposition. And in this case, it's why would someone use the service? And I position this as a streamlined and more affordable process for dog owners to travel with them internationally. If we go to the solution, this is at a high level, conceptually, what would 2 or 3 things to look like for this potential solution. And here we've got a form that's pre-filled in using information when filling out your travel documents, potentially an application or website that is formatted for ease of use for over various countries, and an international passport for your dog. If we go to the unfair advantage, this is the only block where we care about our perspective. So why would we win if we do this? In this case, I've made this up. We've negotiated with all the major governments and we bypass all quarantines around the world. So that's a great source of advantage. We then skip 6 and 7, the revenue and cost. We care about this later, but for now we're just trying to see, does anybody even want to use this service? And then we go to the key metrics. And with the key metrics, this is the one metric that matters that proves that someone would use this service. And here we want number of dogs registered for visas. It's pretty straightforward. If that number goes up, our service is a winner. If it goes down, there's something going wrong. And then finally, the channels, number 9. And this is where we try and would we access them? How would we get the service in front of these people? And here we've got things like brochures in travel agents, pet stores, veterinary clinics, and government travel websites, for example. So that's a quick snapshot of how I would do the Lean Canvas for this Visa for Dogs example. Compare it to what you did. Maybe there's some insights in here. And if you get stuck in any way, feel free to reach out.